She hit it again. 3 days after we paid to fix it. 3 days after she looked me in the eye and said she couldn't make any promises. I was standing at my dining room window when I heard the crunch, that low, flat sound of stone giving way under a truck tire. And I just stood there, still, because some part of me had already known this was coming. The question I'd been circling for weeks finally landed. At what point does protecting your own property stop being vindictive and start being something you are simply entitled to do? I still don't have a clean answer, but I know exactly what I did next. And I know exactly why my husband told me to stop. We've lived in this house for 6 years. It's over 100 years old, which means it comes with a certain amount of character and a certain amount of repair bills, and we have always been fine with both. When my husband and I got married, his father gave us a gift we didn't expect. He paid for professional landscaping on our front yard. We sat down with a landscaper together, planned it out carefully, chose every element. The centerpiece was a retaining wall along a low patch near the street that had always turned into a muddy, eroded mess whenever it rained hard enough. It wasn't flashy. It was just solid, practical, and ours. We were grateful for it the way you're grateful for something that quietly improves your daily life without demanding any attention. For a couple of years after that, everything was fine. The wall held. The yard looked good. Then our neighbors sold their house. The new owner, I'll call her Diane, moved in and made her intentions clear within her first week. She walked into our backyard without asking or even knocking and cut the top clean off one of our juniper bushes. Just took a pair of shears to it and threw the clippings into our yard like it was nothing. The bushes sat near her garage, but they were on our property, clearly on our property. She never introduced herself, never came to the door. I only knew it was her because I saw her through the dining room window while it was happening. We didn't confront her about it. We pulled out all 3 bushes instead because honestly, they had looked ragged for a while. And we decided we didn't want to open a conflict over shrubbery with someone we just met. We told ourselves she was still settling in, that things would smooth over once she felt more at home. People do that. They give the benefit of the doubt until the evidence stops allowing it. About a week after the bushes, I heard it for the first time, that crunching sound. I looked out the window and watched Diane back her lifted truck over our retaining wall. The truck was tall enough that it rolled right over the stone without leaving a visible scratch on the vehicle. The wall wasn't so lucky. There was a section along the edge nearest her driveway that had shifted and cracked. The mortar split clean through along one of the joints. She drove away without stopping, without even slowing down. We didn't say anything immediately. I know how that sounds. But we were trying to be measured about it, weighing the cost of a confrontation with someone who'd already shown us exactly who she was against the cost of a simple repair. The repair won. We called the same landscaping company that had done the original work, added the wall onto a backyard project we already had scheduled for that summer, and paid the $100. We moved on. 1 week later, she hit it again. I was home when it happened. I'm home most days, which means I have had a front row seat to everything this neighbor has done since she arrived. I watched her back out, watched the rear tire catch the edge of the wall, watched the stone shift and settle wrong. And again, nothing from her side, no knock at the door, no wave from the driveway, not even eye contact when we happened to be outside at the same time. We decided to be patient. We genuinely believed that if we were outside often enough, she would eventually come over and say something. People feel that kind of guilt eventually, don't they? They come over and they say they're sorry. or at least they acknowledge what happened. Diane did not operate that way. Weeks went by. The wall sat there with fresh damage, and she walked past it every single day without a word. So I went to her. I waited until I saw her walking her dog one afternoon, and I stepped outside. I kept my voice even. I said I wanted to talk about the retaining wall. She told me she didn't know how it had been damaged. When I told her I'd seen her truck hit it more than once, her whole tone shifted. The wall was too close to her driveway, she said. It could have been a delivery driver. It could have been anyone who pulled into her driveway. I didn't raise my voice. I stayed with the facts and waited. She eventually agreed to reimburse us for the repair we'd already paid for and the one we were about to schedule. But before she walked away, she said something I haven't been able to stop thinking about. She said it wasn't a big deal, and she couldn't make any promises about hitting the wall again. She said that out loud to my face. And then she walked her dog down the street. I went inside and told my husband we had the wall repaired. And then I stood at the window and waited, because I already knew exactly what was coming. 3 days. That's how long it took. The mortar was barely set when I heard it. That same flat crunch, unmistakable now. The sound I had started dreading the way you dread a noise that means something bad has already happened. I looked out the window and there was her truck. The rear tire just rolling over the edge of the wall like it wasn't even there. Like we weren't even there. I didn't go outside. I watched her pull forward and park. Watched her get out, watched her go inside without looking back once. And then I went to the garage. I had an ornamental iron post, the kind used as a decorative yard marker, heavy, solid. I carried it out to the front yard and set it at the corner of the wall, completely on our side of the property line. Not over the line, not near the line, ours. It was positioned so that if you could see the wall at all, you would see the post, and if her truck hit the wall again, the truck would hit the post first. My husband came outside and looked at it for a long moment, then he looked at me. He said I was being vindictive, immature. He said it quietly, the way he says things when he truly means them. I pulled the post out of the ground and carried it back inside without arguing. But I stood in the garage holding it for a long time before I put it down. Because here is what I keep coming back to. She told me to my face that she couldn't promise she wouldn't do it again. That was not carelessness. That was a choice. And I was standing in my garage trying to figure out where exactly the line is between protecting what is yours and becoming someone you don't fully recognize. I put the post back that evening. My husband wasn't happy about it. We sat at the kitchen table and talked, really talked, for the first time about what this whole situation had quietly done to us. About the way I flinched every time I heard a car outside. About the way we'd paid money twice and swallowed our frustration and given her every reasonable opportunity to just be a decent neighbor. He didn't love my solution, but by the end of the conversation, he understood it. We agreed to document everything going forward. Timestamps, photographs, the reimbursement agreement, all of it. If the post discouraged her from hitting the wall, we were fine with that. If her truck hit the post and there was damage to the vehicle, we would have a paper trail that showed exactly whose property the post was sitting on. That night I went out and sat on the front porch for a while after he went inside. The wall was there, the post was there, dark and solid against the grass. The neighborhood was quiet. I didn't feel like I'd won anything. I wasn't satisfied in the way I thought I might be. I just felt, for the first time in months, like I had stopped apologizing for taking up space in my own yard. The post is still there. she hasn't hit the wall since. If you were in my shoes, if you heard that crunch and watched her just walk inside, what would you have done? Would you have put the post back? Or kept the peace and said nothing until morning? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if this story hit too close to home, subscribe. I've got more like it.